everybody. This is Walt.
This is Max.
And you are listening to our podcast on dystopian cinema.
This is, as always, Useless Info Inc., and today we're taking on the Big Daddy. This is Blade Runner.
Yes, indeed.
1982, directed by Ridley Scott. As usual, Walt, we're going to do a little summary, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's start from the top. It is 2019, I believe, right?
What year is it now?
Yeah, we're almost there, right?
Yeah,
so
2018.
Where's my replicant? I need one. I need help. I need a servant. Okay, so movie starts in L.A., right?
Right.
L.A., a sprawl of skyscrapers and neon. And we are in an office, the Terrell Corporation, right? These
Correct.
big pyramid-like structures. And it's a great opening scene. There's a bit of mystery going on because you've got this guy, this is Holden, right?
Right.
And he's doing kind of interrogation of Leon.
Right.
And how does that go?
Not well. Not well, to say the least.
Not well, no. He pulls the Voight-Kampff test on him.
Right.
And Leon doesn't like talking about his mother and blows Holden away, right?
Under the table, too.
Under the table, yeah.
Dirty pool.
He pulled a Han Solo right there.
He shot first.
Original version, of course. Yeah, of course, we've got the opening crawl in the beginning that tells us what a replicant is in
Right.
this situation.
Which are?
They are basically organic. They're biomechanic in a way. They're indistinguishable from human beings, except for some minor features like the empathy test.
Right.
You can figure out
They
the
lack
comp.
a certain amount of empathy.
Right.
Right.
But basically, physically, they are just like human beings, which is why it's so difficult to tell them apart. And they're banned on Earth because there had been a rebellion or something like that, right?
Yeah, and they escape to Earth.
Yes.
Basically from war.
Yes. And they've created a special police unit called the Blade Runner Unit. Guys who track down and quote-unquote retire replicants, which, of course, we all know is a euphemism. So then we cut from this interrogation scene to we meet our protagonist. I don't want to say hero just yet. Our protagonist, played by Harrison Ford, the legend, and his name is Deckard, and he is a Blade Runner.
Rick Deckard, right.
And he gets called back into action because they keep pulling him back in.
Every time he thinks he's out.
Yep. And he meets the police chief, Bryant,
Bryant,
right?
Bryant,
yeah.
yeah.
And Bryant's basically, okay, we've got a problem. We've got escaped replicants down here on Earth, and you got to track them down.
But we also meet Gaff.
We meet
who's
Gaff.
Bryant's right-hand man, basically.
Edward James Olmos.
In a great role.
In a great role. Early on, this before he did Battlestar Galactica and Miami Vice, right?
Right,
Yeah,
way
all that
before.
stuff, yeah.
With those creepy contact lenses.
It's pretty cool. So Deckard gets the job, and he goes. So there's a new type of replicant, the Nexus 6.
Nexus 6.
Top of the line, right? So Deckard has to figure out that he has to make sure that the Voight-Kampff test works on this new brand of replicant.
Right.
So he goes over to the Terrell Corporation. So he gets over. He meets Eldon Terrell, the designer of replicants, and Deckard says, "Okay, I'm going to test this thing out on a replicant. Give me one." Terrell says, "Well, here's my niece." And Deckard's like, "No, she's a human." Well, try this out. See what happens.
Rachel, right.
Rachel, exactly. So he pulls a Voight-Kampff on her. Figures out after 100 questions that she is a replicant.
Was it just 100? I thought it was like 100 or 200.
I think Terrell said
200.
it took more than 100.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
So with a typical replicant, it takes 20 to 30.
20 to 30 cross-referenced.
Cross-referenced, yes.
Yeah.
What that means, I don't know.
I don't know
But
either.
it's cross-referenced.
Because they ask these odd questions, too. Like, you see
Yeah.
a tortoise on its back in the desert. What do you do? You know, it's these odd questions.
Yeah, which is the empathy thing, right?
Right.
It's like if it tests how quick you react to the suffering of this other creature.
Right. And usually it's animal-based.
Usually it's animal-based, which is an interesting detail from the book, actually.
Right.
Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, Philip K. Dick, of course.
Yep.
This concept that animals are so endangered or just wiped out that...
Pretty much extinct, almost.
Pretty much extinct.
A lot of animals
Yeah.
in this future, in this dystopian future.
Yeah. So he finds out that Rachel's a replicant, and it turns out that this is a new thing that Terrell is trying out. He has created a replicant, and he has implanted memories in her so that she believes that she is a human being,
Right.
which is an interesting new thing.
Yeah, he even asks, doesn't he? He says she doesn't know.
She doesn't know, yeah. And then Deckard starts doing some detective work, and he goes to Leon's apartment and finds a curious scale and some pictures there, right?
Photos, yeah.
Right, and then Rachel shows up at his apartment.
Right.
He goes home. Rachel shows up, and Rachel's in a state because she just found out she's not human, and that would suck, right?
That'd be a blow to anybody,
yeah,
I think.
Exactly.
What? I'm a replicant? What?
Yeah. So he does his best to talk her down, and then he goes and he tries to track down the scale, right?
Right.
He goes through his Esper machine where he scans one of the photos.
Right.
He does detective-like stuff that he should be doing.
But with computers.
With computers, yes. So
And we see a lot of technology that we have now.
Yes.
To a certain extent. Doesn't look the same, but a lot of the equipment that he's using is very similar to some of the stuff that we have going on now, technology-wise.
True. Very true. So then we can just cut over. He ends up finding Zora.
He tracks Zora down.
He tracks Zora down, one of the missing replicants, and he shoots her down in the back.
He chases her across town.
Exactly.
Shoots her in the back. She goes running through many plate glass windows.
Yes.
In a great stunt scene.
A gripping and horrible stunt.
Right, at the same time, yeah.
This is the point where I figured out that this was not an action movie.
Right.
Because it is just not, it's not thrilling, it's just ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then Leon shows up to kill Deckard. He gets shot and turned by Rachel.
Right
showing
in
up on
the
the
head.
scene.
Because he smacks Deckard's gun out of his hand.
Exactly.
And Rachel picks it up and shoots him in the back of the head.
Meanwhile, the two remaining replicants, Pris and Roy Batty, have they're holed up with a man named J.F. Sebastian.
Right, played by Daryl Hannah and Rutger Hauer.
Yes. And J.F. Sebastian helps them reach Eldon Tyrell because ultimately these replicants have a 4-year lifespan.
Right.
They want more life.
They want more life, fucker.
Although, is it fucker or father? Because sometimes they...
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought it was fucker.
Yeah?
Want more life, fucker.
Yeah.
Later on, he's a little bit more endearing to him for a second or two when he says, it's a difficult thing to meet your creator.
Yeah.
And then he starts, kind of acting almost like he's his father.
And he crushes his skull.
Then he crushes his skull,
yes.
right.
So he's gone. So Deckard finally tracks down Pris and Batty in J.F. Sebastian's apartment.
Oh, and one last thing. He also kills Sebastian camera.
Off camera. That guy just wasn't needed at all. Tracks him down, and we end up with a really interesting 20-minute or so chase scene, but it's not quite like any final face-off that you've ever seen.
Right.
It's kind of brutal and ugly, and Batty's kind of playing with Deckard the whole time.
And so was Pris right before him.
Yeah.
She was toying with him a little bit, enjoying beating the hell out of him.
And Deckard shoots her too. Interestingly enough, the only two replicants whom Deckard kills in this movie are women.
Are women, yeah.
Yeah, he never successfully kills any men.
Yeah.
Interesting when we are talking about him as a hero.
Right.
Perhaps. Right. So a long chase ensues that ends up with Deckard hanging by his fingers
off a rooftop.
And he's at the point of death, and Batty's looking down at him, and Batty does the most incredible thing. He lifts him up, sets him down, and delivers one of the most compelling speeches in all of science fiction.
And a lot of it was improv.
Yeah, my understanding was that Hampton Fanch had written a much longer speech. Rutger Hauer kind of trimmed it down to the essentials.
Right.
And I think he did come up with some of the crucial lines.
I thought like Tears in the Rain is his.
I think Tears in the Rain is his. Yeah.
Yeah, he saves Deckard's life.
He saves his
because
life.
he's realizing how precious life is.
Yes.
Since he's on the way out. These are his last moments.
Exactly. And then he just dies. Right there, he just dies.
He just puts his head down and he's holding on to that dove.
Yes. And Deckard goes home where he finds Rachel. His assignment is to kill Rachel because Rachel has escaped, basically.
Right.
He doesn't kill her. He takes her and they get into an elevator and we fade to black. And of course, we're talking about the director's cut / final cut version.
Right. There's actually many cuts in this movie.
That's the thing we're going to have to get into. So, wow, iconic movie, Walt.
Absolutely.
All right. Lot to talk about. All right, Walt, I'm going to say something to you that I've never said before and I may never say again.
Uh-oh.
Walt, let's talk origami.
Oh, boy.
Gaff is a fashioner of origami figures, right?
Right.
Okay. There are three of them. The first one he fashions is a chicken,
Right.
which seems pretty obvious because at that point Deckard doesn't want the job.
So that's basically what he's saying.
Yeah, you're a coward.
Being
yeah.
yellow.
The second one is when Deckard is probing around Leon's hotel room. This one is a man with an erection.
A matchstick man with an erection.
What does that
He's
mean?
basically calling him a dick.
That's how you see it?
I kind of see it
Okay.
that way.
But why at that specific moment? How is Deckard being a dick at that moment?
You know, that's a good question. Well, obviously, Gaff just does not like him.
Yeah.
Gaff just
No,
doesn't
no,
like
no.
outright.
Yeah,
He just
yeah.
doesn't like him.
Yeah.
I guess maybe because he's used to being Bryant's main man, where Deckard used to be. It's a competition thing, perhaps.
Yeah.
Between two Blade Runners.
That's pretty much what I assume.
You know.
Okay, that's interesting. Some people have interpreted it as you've got a thing for Rachel.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't necessarily buy that because we don't see that Gaff has ever met Rachel.
But I kind of got the sense that he is following him around a little bit. Like he's kind of like Bryant maybe told him keep an eye on him.
He's sort of shadowing him.
Yeah, yeah. You don't see it.
Yeah, you don't see it. I just kind of assume that Gaff had to wait in the spinner in the car,
Right. He
or
was
in
a
some
chauffeur,
or in
right.
some other. Yeah, I mean that is plausible. Another thing that I thought of, well, later on at the end during the final showdown with Batty says something to him like, "Can you get it up?"
Yeah,
for this
right.
or something like,
Right.
"Can you muster the?" So I'm wondering if that kind of connects.
Okay.
If the sense is like, okay, are you really a man? Can
Right.
can you handle this? Can you
Right.
can you get your dick hard for this?
Well, he
Or not?
knows that he killed Person Zora.
At that point, yeah.
Yeah,
but
he knows.
But in terms of what Gaff is saying,
Okay.
I'm wondering if that's what he's kind of communicating.
All right. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
open
ambiguous.
to
It's
yeah,
open.
It's
Okay.
open to interpretation for sure. And the last piece, the last origami piece,
The unicorn. Okay.
which is left
in his apartment.
right outside his door, actually.
Yeah.
I thought he kind of left it there saying, "I know where she is. I could have taken her out."
It's in. I think there are multi levels to it. I think one, it's like because a unicorn is a rare creature, right?
Right.
And
mythical.
Mythical, yeah. Because Gaff could have killed her.
Right.
The door is open.
Right.
You know,
That's right. Yeah,
he
that's
went in
right.
there, yeah. But he didn't, and maybe he was communicating that no, she's a special one.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because earlier, when he meets Deckard on the rooftop, he's
He
like,
does
"It's
say.
too bad she won't live."
Right. It's too bad she won't live.
Yeah, yeah.
But then again, who
He
does?
Yeah. But
Another
then
great line.
And of course, the other interpretation is again director's cut version,
Ridley Scott's
because
cut.
earlier on, Deckard, when he sort of slumped at his piano, he has kind of this vision of a unicorn.
He falls asleep and has a dream. I thought it was right, or is it more like a
Yeah,
vision?
it's tough to tell if he actually falls asleep. It's almost like a daydream or something.
Right.
It's ambiguous.
Right.
You know.
And you wonder if that's an implanted memory.
Exactly. Just
That
like
if he's a replicant or not.
Deckard says that he read Rachel's file.
Right.
He's able to tell Rachel's memories to her.
Right. Right.
And you wonder if this is Gaff signaling to Deckard, "You're a replicant,
Right.
and I know you are."
Right. Right.
So, okay.
But either way, he still lets him go. The both of them.
he still lets him go, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we have to discuss this, don't we?
Yeah, it's kind of heavy, and like you said, it's open to so many different interpretations.
We got to talk about the is he or isn't he right thing, right?
Right. Well, according to Harrison Ford and the writer of the screenplay, Deckard is human.
Yes.
According to Ridley Scott, Deckard's a replicant. According to the book, to Philip K. Dick's version, I mean his novel, the original,
Yeah.
the original version, it's open still. You don't really know.
Okay.
From what I recall from the novel anyway.
Okay. I remember there was a character in the novel who was a Blade Runner who did turn out to be a replicant.
Right.
I don't.
I haven't read it in so long.
Yeah, no, it's been a long time.
I should have read it before we did this.
Yeah, no.
I should have
But-
brushed up.
Okay, let me ask you this. Okay, well, in the theatrical version, there's no real compelling evidence that he is a replicant.
Right.
Right?
You kind of assume that he's human.
You kind of assume, yeah.
Also, I mean, the replicants are just handing his ass to him in all of these fights.
Exactly.
When he finally
Yeah.
catches up with them, they're just beating
Yeah.
the hell out of him.
But maybe he's not.
A Nexus 6, right? That's
Exactly.
right. That's true too.
So in the director's cut version, do you think there is enough information there to firmly say he is or not?
No.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so at all. I think it's so open.
You can see multiple discussions online.
And there have been. Yeah,
people arguing
exactly.
back and forth. And you and I have these same discussions umpteen million times.
Right. At least we don't argue about it.
No, we don't. No, we've never gotten in a fist fight about it, although you never know.
Could happen today. Who knows?
Yeah.
Right?
I think
That'd be an interesting podcast.
oh, don't hurt me, Wallach. It'll end up with me crying, essentially. Yeah, I think it's deliberately ambiguous, and I think the crucial thing is that Deckard wonders about himself.
Right.
I think it's an existential moment.
Okay.
The fact that he has to ask himself, is he human or not, that is the crucial thing. That is the most important moment. It's not whether he is or not. I don't think the movie is meant to be that...
that black and white.
Exactly, that black and white.
Yeah.
I think it's intended to be an ambiguous kind of thing. All right, I'm glad we had that discussion. That's always one that I want to get out of the way. All right, photographs. Well,
Yes.
Photographs are interesting in this movie. So Rachel shows up with this photograph of her and her mom, ostensibly, right?
Right.
And she's like, "This is proof that I'm real." And Deckard's like, "No, that's just
Photoshops.
Yeah, that's
Basically.
that's Terrell's actual niece.
Yeah.
Interesting. We never found out what happened to the niece.
That's true. Yeah.
Did she die? And
We
then,
have no
then
idea.
the memories were implanted in Rachel? Or is she still alive someplace?
Right,
Does she
right.
look like Rachel?
Right.
It's an interesting little detail.
Yeah. All good questions.
And so she uses this photograph to kind of bolster her memories, right?
Right.
And you see Leon has got these pictures. He's got pictures of the apartment, but he's got like these random pictures
Right.
of random people.
Right.
What do you think that's about?
It's interesting. If I had to guess, it's just an implanted attachment to something physical. Roy says it to him. Did you get your precious photos?
Right, and it's almost like he's making fun of him a little bit.
Right.
Because
Why do you have this attachment to these things that
are
are unnecessary to
Because
us?
Leon gave his actual address.
Yeah.
They know his address.
Right.
So he knows he can't really go back to this place. He goes back anyway
To get the
get
pictures.
these photos. They
Yeah.
mean that much to him. These photos that are of random
Like
people.
a guy sitting at a table
Yeah,
smoking
yeah.
a cigar. I mean, it could be his uncle or something,
But he
implant.
doesn't have those.
Right.
Only Rachel has those.
That's
I mean,
right.
or
That's
maybe,
right,
maybe,
right.
maybe Deckard, but
Right.
Rachel is the only one that we know has those
Right.
memories implanted.
Right.
I'm wondering if it's like there's a lot of things going on here. Terrell says that he's implanting memories to use that as a cushion for their emotions
Okay.
because they start developing emotions, right?
Right.
Now, this concept of using it as a cushion, I think, is really, really interesting. Like, okay, for example, imagine someone who is really angry, right?
Okay.
They just feel angry all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe they say, well, as a child, I was bullied or something, or my parents were mean to me.
Right.
That's why I'm angry. It's
Right.
like you can connect that emotion to something,
Right.
so you have a foundation to it. But what if you are literally 4 years old, but you're an adult, and you
Right.
have, you're able to be a soldier or a prostitute or whatever. You're developing emotions,
Uh-huh.
but how do you connect those to anything?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And maybe this idea is that these memories are so you can kind of they act as a foundation, even if they're, and Terrell says, so we can control them better.
So some sort of filter almost.
Yeah, because if you have these emotions, you don't understand them, maybe that makes them crazy, act
Okay.
erratic.
Right, right.
But if they can connect them to something, maybe that makes them more stable. And I'm wondering if the photographs connect to that.
It's kind of like a failsafe then.
Like a failsafe. It's like he's trying to build up memories that he doesn't actually have.
Right. But he still has this attachment, this extreme attachment.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's all he has,
He
right?
has for. Okay.
Yeah, like he can pretend that that's his actual life.
Right. Because he does snap a few times. I mean, he snaps right in the opening, as you described in the
Yeah,
synopsis.
Yeah, he does. Yeah,
he-
yeah.
2-3 questions in,
Yeah.
he said,
I mean,
tell me about your mother. And
They have rebelled.
Yeah, right.
And I'm wondering if what Terrell might be saying is that, well, if we can give them these memories, we can make them more controllable so they don't rebel.
so they don't evolve
Yeah.
any further.
Yeah. Of course, Rachel rebels anyway.
Right.
because she escapes, right?
Right.
So it didn't work out.
Well, she's a different type of model too, right?
She is a different type of model, yeah.
Yeah, just that scene in the opening that we were talking about. He blasts him through the damn wall
Yeah.
when he shoots him with that
Yeah.
guy goes flying through the wall.
They're high-powered guns.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And then Deckard also has photos
That's right. Yeah, I was going to...
on his piano.
Yep, yep. So you kind of once again question a little.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
You
why
know, you
does
see
he...
all these old vintage type photos sitting on the piano.
Yeah. And did you notice that when he's looking at the photograph of supposed Rachel and her mother,
Uh-huh.
it moves briefly.
I had never noticed that.
It moves.
Really?
Yeah, it's when...
Which cut is this? Is it in every cut? Because there's like, what, 3-4 different cuts?
Okay, it's been a long time since I've seen the theatrical version.
Same here.
But it is definitely in the final cut.
Okay.
And it might be in the director's cut as well. I think it's in both of those.
Okay.
But yeah, you see like shadows and you hear children laughing.
Ah.
Now Rachel isn't there. Deckard is looking at this. So I'm wondering if that's like, again, him as a replicant, like memories are life to him.
Right.
Like that's because I don't think literally they're moving. I think it's a subjective thing that he's seeing. Right.
Okay. Right. Okay.
And they're speaking of subjectivity, there are a lot of subjective details.
Well, it could also be a human reaction to it. Like he's kind of, putting his own human memories to what he's looking at.
Maybe
It could be that too.
Maybe it's a sign that he's connecting with her.
Right.
Because he does kind of. That's kind of like his progress.
Right.
Like
right.
When she first comes over, he is really dismissive.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, go home. Get out of here.
He's like, forget, you're a replicant.
Right.
And then she starts crying. And then he's like, okay, fine. I made a bad joke. You're not a replicant. Go home anyway. You know.
Right. And it's Harrison Ford way.
Yeah. But later on, I mean, he's
all about her.
He's in love.
Yeah.
He's basically in love with her.
Yeah.
He's.
They run away together.
Even though he knows she's a manufactured life form, which is, of course, the arc that he goes through. Like through his affection for her, and through this experience with Batty, who lets him live, he comes to understand the humanity of these creatures and finds his own humanity thereby. Right. Because he's a callous bastard.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, and the way Bryant describes him as well. I need that old Blade Runner magic.
Later on, he says, "Gaff, this man's a one-man slaughterhouse," or something like that, right? Yeah. Okay, here's a question. Well,
yeah.
So they have this special Blade Runner. Okay, first, what do you think? Why do they call them Blade Runners?
I've always wondered.
Yeah.
I've always wondered why.
Yeah.
It's basically just a cool moniker.
I mean, it sounds really cool. And that name isn't from the novel,
right?
Of course. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of feel like it's this idea of living on the edge.
Okay. Blade Runner. I see that now.
Right? I mean, it's between life and death, between humanity and like artificial life.
Right. Right.
It's like this is your existence. You're running on the blade's edge.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
But they have a dedicated unit to tracking down replicants.
Right.
But when Bryant tells him that these replicants have come to Earth, Deckard says, "Well, that's unusual."
Right.
Why would they do that?
Usually they're off-world.
Yeah. So if it's unusual for replicants to come to Earth, why do you need a special police force to go track them down?
True. Well, I suppose that there's still replicants walking around in society performing other tasks or what have you, and then they just go.
But they're outlawed on Earth.
That's true. Yeah.
The opening call says that they're outlawed.
Well, maybe at one time they weren't. You got to assume that because he's retired. Deckard is retired.
True. At one point they were not.
Right.
Okay, so maybe it's from a previous kind of time when they were kind of walking around. And he had to shoot down ones who got out of line or something. Okay.
Right. Or that escaped.
I can buy that.
On. Before they were sent off-world to fight, basically.
Sure. Okay.
In these wars that are kind of mythical, like the Clone Wars, until they actually made the bad movies.
Yeah.
You don't see any of this.
It's an interesting
attack
detail.
ships off Orion.
Yes.
And, what Batty
sea
described.
beams glittering
Yeah.
off Tannhauser Gate. Yeah. Great images. Another question. If the off-world colonies are so awesome, why isn't everybody going there?
Right.
Is it because they're not so awesome?
Probably. Either that or maybe they can't afford it.
That's kind of what I always thought.
Because there's literally the poor and the upper class, in this.
Yeah.
There's no middle class.
No.
There's no, unless you're a Blade Runner or a police officer. Isn't it Bryant that says it? If you're not a Blade Runner, you're little people.
You're little people,
You're little
yeah.
people.
And that was a threat,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
Because everybody that lives on the ground, on street level,
Yep.
they're poor and overcrowded.
Yeah.
The people that are wealthy live in these giant towers like you were talking about.
Yeah.
You know, high above the city.
Yeah, that's right. So it's interesting that J.F. Sebastian lives in the Bradbury building.
The
right?
Bradbury, yeah.
And he says, no, there's nobody else here.
Right, he's the only one.
Because nobody wants to live in these old buildings anymore.
Right.
They want like these new high-rise buildings.
Well, he works for Tyrell
yeah.
directly.
Yeah. You think he could afford nicer digs.
Right. I think he just gave him the building, just, you know, there you go.
He said there's no housing shortage around here.
Right.
Like I got the impression that's like an old part of town or something.
Right, right.
Which is basically downtown LA.
Right.
Now. Yeah. Okay, well, at the end.
Oh, one last thing.
Yeah, please.
The Bradbury, Ray Bradbury. A nice nod to.
It's an interesting. It is an interesting.
It's a nice
kind
nod
of,
to him.
I kind of feel like it did double duty.
Yeah.
Because the Bradbury building, the actual building. I've visited it in LA.
Oh yeah.
And it is fantastic.
Right.
Like you go in, that lobby is just.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It's gorgeous.
My feeling is that Ridley Scott just wanted to film there because it's a great location.
And the lighting that he pulls off in that scene.
It
in
actually
that building.
does have that kind of skylight up at top through which you can see the blimp in this movie.
Right.
And I feel like, okay, he's like, well, this is really cool, but it's also got a cool name. Because otherwise they might have changed the name.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like the Yukon Hotel isn't really the Yukon Hotel in reality, yeah. So
Right.
it does double duty in a cool way.
Right.
Yeah.
Like the Bramford in Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
Is actually the Dakota.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
What other movies were the Bradbury in? The only one that comes to mind right now is Wolf. Remember Wolf with Jack Nicholson?
Really? That was in there?
His office is filmed
Okay.
is in that building.
Interesting. I don't remember that.
He's a publisher.
I mean, it's so cinematic.
I mean, you don't have
Beautiful.
to remember the Wolf movie, I mean, but, you know.
All I remember is bacon. Which is my reaction as well, of course. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to have another question for you. Provoke discussion and hopefully interesting, engaged thoughts. At the end, so Roy Batty, he grabs this dove and he releases the dove at the moment of death.
Right.
And it's like, you know, his soul being released.
Metaphor for his soul, yeah.
What do we think about that? Is it hokey? Does it work? What do you think?
Well, if you're a fan of Ridley Scott's, you can see him doing something like this. So I think it works in the Ridley Scott realm of thinking when it comes to filmmaking.
Though from what I understand,
What's that?
it was Rutger Hauer came up with the idea.
He did that too, yeah?
Yeah, of course, Ridley Scott said, go for it.
Right.
But Ridley Scott, this is one of the commentary tracks. He said that Rutger Hauer was really, really intense and insistent upon it. He's like, I want to do this thing.
And he was in such shape back then, you probably wouldn't have said no to
Yeah,
him.
and Ridley
you know?
Scott said, go for it. I mean, I think you're right. It does fit in with Ridley Scott's whole, like, frame anyway.
Right.
So he's like, yeah, okay, that's a cool idea. I'll go with that.
Yeah.
But how do you... I keep going back and forth.
Okay.
Okay,
So it being hokey and being cool?
Yeah, because, I mean, I grew up with this goddamn movie.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
saw it when I was way too young to see it.
Yeah.
And then I basically saw it, like, every year from then on. And it was kind of like a gateway drug to art film for me.
Okay.
Which is sort of interesting, right?
I can see that, though.
Because the movies I watched back then didn't have, like, symbolism and metaphor.
Right.
And at some point, like, probably the fifth time I watched it, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, man. It's like the dove. It's like his soul being released. Oh, shit, that's cool. You know, it's like
This was during your goth phase, right?
the first time that hits you, you know, that, like, that kind of symbolism works for you. You think it's the most awesome thing ever, right?
Like a great epiphany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I saw this movie for the first time today, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if I'd, like, laugh at, like, oh, my God, really? Seriously?
I can see that because we've seen so many films at this point over the years that you are a little jaded with certain things. You can be.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, you know I'm a big horror buff. I watch horror movies all the time, and whenever I see some of these new ones, I'm like, God, that was just piss poor awful.
Yeah.
You know? And the same thing, you go, oh, really? Going to go for that?
Yeah.
It's been done a million times, you know? I still keep coming back for more, but, you know, I could see why you'd be a little more jaded now seeing something like that done in film.
Or I'm wondering if if you're really into the movie, if you just go with it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's impossible to watch this movie for the first time after I've seen it like 50 freaking times.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
you know?
you can't.
Yeah.
You can't wipe your memories like a replicant. You
Yeah.
know? But I still like every aspect of this film, and I've seen all the cuts and etc.
Yeah.
And they got me though on that. You know, you bought the theatrical version, you bought
Yeah.
the
I know.
director's cut, the real director's cut, the final cut.
All right, if you had to choose, okay, let's say all of them will be destroyed in a nuclear
one.
holocaust,
Yeah.
and only one will survive for posterity.
Only one.
Which one's going to be?
See, that's tough for me because, of course, grew up with the theatrical release.
Of course, yeah.
And saw that for many years, over and over and over.
For 10 years of my life, that was the only one that existed.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the movie.
I don't know. If I had to pick just one, I guess it would be the final cut, Ridley Scott's.
Yeah. I mean,
know.
it's not that different from the director's cut, but
Right.
it fixes certain things.
Oh, yeah.
Like the dove looked really stupid,
Right.
Because it had the blue sky and everything,
Right.
And now at least it kind of matches and everything, and it's a
Right.
smoother version. I like the fixes in it.
Right.
Okay, I think we want to talk influences for a moment. Obviously, one of the central issues in this movie is, do these fabricated creatures have humanity? Are they living creatures or whatever? Now, you and I both have a deep knowledge of sci-fi films. Can you think of a sci-fi movie before this one that really explored that aspect? Because there are tons now.
Right.
I mean, I can just,
Right.
like Westworld, the new one, of course, the TV series, Humans, another TV series, the new Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Countless movies all explore that issue. I am having trouble thinking of one before Blade Runner that really
That's true.
did that. I mean, of course, there were movies with androids in them.
Right.
And I think the old Star Trek touched on that a couple of times.
Right.
But nothing went as deep as this movie that I can think
So
of.
close
Can
to
you?
being human. No, I'm kind of racking my brain right now.
I mean, I think
I'm sure I'll wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and call you and go, you know what one? You know what it is?
I've been thinking about it.
Man.
I honestly can't think of one.
Well, this one, like you said, takes
Yeah.
it to the nth power. Takes the idea to the nth power. Takes it right to the edge.
You know, when we talk about influential cinema, I have a hard time thinking of any movies that are more influential on, like, dystopian visions of the future than this one and The Road Warrior.
Right.
And it's interesting that they both came out within a year of each other,
Yeah,
81 and 82.
That's right.
And I would say like 90% of the movies about the future that have come out since are influenced by one or the other, sometimes both.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
It's remarkable how influential they are.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
And a lot of that in Blade Runner is the set design, the production design.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's incredible.
It's another character in the movie.
Now here's a question. Okay, the story. The story is this guy hunting these replicants, right?
Right.
I'm going to use the word Blade Runner world in quotation marks.
Okay.
Blade Runner world is this crowded skyscrapers, neon, spinners, all that stuff. Does this story need to take place in a Blade Runner world?
I think so.
Why?
I think so.
Why?
Because it's so overpopulated, it makes the hunt even more difficult to find the replicants that are so close to human.
Well,
if it's just, say, out in the country.
What could it take place in Soylent Green world?
And so, oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
I would say so.
Well, that's what
I
I'm
would
saying.
say so.
That's what
You
I'm
mean
saying.
just specifically in?
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, it could take place
Yeah.
in Soil and Green World. Absolutely,
yeah.
In that scenario, in that movie, that environment. Yeah, I think so.
Because apparently Hampton Fancher, one of the screenwriters, one of his original scripts, it went through many iterations, of course, it was much more stripped down.
Right.
It was mostly interiors.
Uh-huh.
And apparently it was Ridley Scott who said, let's create a future
Open
world.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is probably one of the key decisions that made this movie what it is. But I don't think the story needs to take place in the Blade Runner world, but I think the Blade Runner world enhances the story.
Okay. Right. See, I thought
yeah,
what
yeah.
you meant was in the city environment, the way it's
Sure.
where it mostly takes place.
In-
See, that's why I was saying because it's overcrowded, it
Right.
makes it incredibly difficult to find one person.
That aspect, yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
I didn't realize what you meant by
But it could
take Blade Runner and put it in Soil and Green. Would it still work?
But couldn't it take place right now?
Oh yeah.
Right?
In this city?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
New York?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I think the Blade Runner world, all that stuff, it adds something. I think it adds a sense of alienation. That
It's dark.
It's dark.
Gloomy. Raining
It's
all the time.
hella crowded. and
Overpopulated. Pollution.
Yeah. It diminishes, the environment diminishes your humanity.
Yeah. Right.
In a way. It, like, all the human beings in this movie they're depressed.
Yeah.
They're shitty to each other.
Right.
Do you see a human being say a kind word to another human being in this movie?
No.
No.
Not really, no, not
it's
at
like
all.
People are horrible to each other.
Yeah.
And that's the environment that Deckard lives in.
Right.
It's like it's no wonder that he has no humanity. That's just something he has to struggle for.
Right. Right.
I think the movie does.
Which works well with his arc, then.
It works very well with his arc.
It's like
Yeah.
you said, even when he's ordering food at the stand, the noodle
Yeah,
stand, he's like,
he-
two with noodles.
he
And he's
can't-
yelling at the guy.
Didn't he want like 3 or something?
Yeah, he's right. He said something like 2 or 3.
Yeah, he couldn't get as many as he wanted.
Right.
Like even like your goddamn lunch, you can't get as many shrimp rolls as you want.
Right.
It's a goddamn struggle.
And he had to stress. I wanted to know what was it that he wanted with the noodles, because if the guy's telling him, no, you can't have 2 or 3, and he's like, and with noodles.
At one point, because of course I've studied this movie obsessively, I did look up the translation of what the guy was saying.
What did he say?
I don't remember, but it was something like
Go fuck yourself, Blade Runner.
it was something like you can only handle 2 or something like that.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah, because this
Wow.
is like
Another diss to his manhood.
I don't remember exactly, but it was like you can find all this stuff online. It's kind of interesting. You can find the translations of the gutter talk.
Oh, yeah.
Gutter talk because that's off the theatrical version, but
Also,
Yeah.
which Gaff speaks
yes,
fluently.
exactly. Yeah, like they kind
It's
of
a
like
weird
trace what
slang
he's saying.
/ yeah. It's
Yeah.
a mixture of like Chinese, Japanese, and slang and American.
What have you.
English.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a weird amalgamation of
All right,
all kinds
let's
of
just-
different languages.
We keep talking about the voiceover.
Okay. Okay.
Thoughts?
See, when I first saw the movie, you had the narration. So I still like the versions with the narration. It's very film noir. It really
is.
brings that
It really is. Yeah.
element to it, which I enjoy. In the other cuts, I'm fine with it not being there as well. And I know Harrison Ford had said in an interview that he hated the narration.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to do it. He was forced into it and the whole nine. But I still like the version with the narration.
Yeah.
It comes off so, like I said, like Maltese Falcon kind of 30s noir, 30s, 40s noir. So that adds an element to it that I still like.
I have a nostalgia for the voiceover.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first time I watched this movie, I didn't get it even with the goddamn voiceover. And I mean, he tells you exactly what's going on.
Right.
He says that he explains everything.
Yeah.
Ridley Scott calls it Irving the Explainer, which I kind of like. He says, in these last moments, he valued life more than he ever did.
Right.
Even anybody's life, even my life. And now it's like, oh God, yeah, nail on the head.
Yeah.
Thank you again and again, bonk bonk. But at the time, I'm like, oh my God, yeah,
Right.
dude, that's amazing. Again, the 5th time I watched the movie, I finally started getting it.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I just liked it because I was so into science fiction.
Yeah.
It took me a while to really understand the film as I got older.
Oh yeah.
I just love the look of it. I love the idea, the title. Hey, look, he's hunting down killer androids. That's great.
Yeah.
But then, like you said, when you get older and you rewatch it, you gain a new understanding of the movie and a deeper meaning to a certain extent, But yeah, like I said, when it comes to the narration too, you're talking about, hammer over the head. I think he did that on purpose because he says he hated doing it so much that there were certain times he just sounds flat.
And the writing is bad.
Yeah, right.
It wasn't Hampton Fancher or David Peoples, the original screenwriters. They
Right.
brought in somebody else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's sushi. That's what my wife called me. Cold fish.
Right.
That might be the worst line in the voiceover.
Right.
Do you have a candidate for worst line?
Oh, man. No, I think you won with that. It is bad. It is bad at points.
It's so on the nose. So okay, Bryant says skin jobs.
Right.
And then Deckard helpfully explains that it's a derogatory term for replicants.
Right.
Like I couldn't figure that out.
Yeah. There's, like you said, there are those weird moments where it seems like 1 minute he doesn't give a fuck,
Yeah.
And then the next minute he's saying, "Don't call them skin jobs." You know,
That-
is that when they're looking at the film?
It might be that, or it might be a little bit earlier when they're still in the office.
Oh, okay.
I think that might be my fundamental issue with the voiceover, because you hear Deckard kind of being sympathetic towards replicants really early on, which kind of screws up the arc.
Okay, with the narration.
Exactly, because the arc, what I see in the director's cut is that he's unsympathetic but grows to be sympathetic through the course of the movie.
Over time.
But if he's already kind of inclined towards, then you lose the arc.
Right.
That's
right,
kind of that's
right.
my fundamental problem.
Right.
That said, I do kind of enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
mostly for that
fun.
value. You
It's
know, for
fun.
that noir
Yeah.
value, that noir factor for me.
Yeah.
But either way, like I said, I could watch either version.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that we're fans of it, that we've seen how many different cuts of it.
Exactly.
That we've lost track as to how many cuts.
Yeah.
But they, like I said, they got me, man. They got me on fucking video cassette, laser disc,
Yeah,
DVD, Blu-ray. Like, how many times am I going to buy this fucking movie? But I still wind up doing it.
Yeah.
Because I love the movie so much.
Yeah, totally. Now we come to a segment that I like to call
Max's Bid.
That's right, okay. So did you notice when we first meet Deckard, he's reading a paper? Mm-hmm. You catch the headline?
I do not remember it.
Farming the Oceans.
Oh, once again.
So this is the third movie in a row
Yeah.
that we've seen that
Fish and plankton from the sea.
Yeah, that implies that we're gonna farm the oceans in the future.
Soylent Green,
Yeah.
Logan's Run, and now Blade Runner.
Yeah, interesting detail. Okay, when Deckard is administering the Voight-Kampff test to Rachel, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a moment when there's kind of there's a bunch of dissolves to kind of show the passage of time.
Right.
And you hear overdubbed voices. Mm-hmm. And you hear Deckard say, "Orange body, green legs."
Oh, about the spider?
But the spider, he talks about that later.
Later, yeah.
When because it's a memory she has.
Right. That built a web outside your window.
Yeah, what's that about? What? So obviously that's not a question that he has during the Voight-Kampff test.
Right.
Do you think it's just some weird error or something, or is that meant to?
Some sort of foreshadowing?
I've never been able to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it's not meant to figure out. Maybe we'll go mad if we do.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll go insane.
It's interesting.
That's a cool bit.
Yeah. Okay. So when Deckard is having a drink at what's his name? Taffy's, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that fancy bar where everyone's dressed like in the 30s and shit like that.
Right.
He's got this nice cocktail, but it's got worms in it.
Yes.
What?
It's like some weird tequila thing with the worm in it.
Multiple.
Yeah, right.
It's
that's
got
right.
a bunch of them, right?
tentacles
You
come-
see
that's
them.
right.
Yeah. Is that what we're going to be
And he gets
drinking?
bombed.
Fancy lounges in the future? Come on.
I'll have the Cthulhu, please. With noodles.
Exactly. No, three, not two, three. Did you know? So, J.F. Sebastian has this apartment full of these automated toys, right?
That he made.
You know,
Hey, my friends, I made them.
You know, it's a unicorn.
That's right. Yep.
There's a unicorn in there, right?
That's right. Yep.
I don't know if that was intentional, if it's supposed to mean anything, but it struck me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's another good one.
Yeah. Did you notice when Deckard he's hanging from the building?
Right. From the girder.
And just before he lets go, he spits at Batty.
That's right.
It's if you haven't seen the movie 50 times like we have, it's tough to catch.
Yeah, it's like a millisecond.
Yeah. That's his last act.
Yeah.
And actually on the commentary track, I think Ridley talks about this.
Yeah.
That his thought was even that this is when Batty really respected Deckard as a fellow warrior. It's that's badass. Yeah, I'm going to save your ass right now. Yeah.
Just because as you're about to go down,
you're
still fuck you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's
pretty cool.
I mean, you can barely see it because of all the rain, but he legit spits at him.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'm obsessed with this movie. So
We both are.
I have done my best to do a Blade Runner tour, and some things that I can point out. Well, last time I was in L.A., Bradbury Building. The other one, Union Station.
Okay.
Which is where they filmed the police scenes.
Right.
It's this cool large, like it sounds like fascist architecture. It's an interesting thing.
That's the other thing I wanted to mention. The sets, even the interiors, are vast.
Talk about this.
They're huge.
Yeah. Like which one specifically?
Well, Tyrell's apartment, where he's also the office where he's interviewing Rachel. It like takes her like 10 minutes to get to the desk.
It's
once
a
she walks into
fantastic
the
set.
office.
Yeah.
Deckard's apartment is huge too, but it's cluttered. It's very cluttered.
The apartment specifically. Okay, so there's a house in LA called the Ennis Brown House.
Okay.
And this one is a twofer because if you are a Blade Runner fan and or an architecture fan, which I'm geeky enough to be both, it was designed by Frank Lloyd Wright.
Oh, okay.
So it's a really cool, like it's got like a Mayan kind of theme going. You see it briefly when Deckard drives into his parking lot.
Right.
That's the actual Ennis Brown house.
Okay.
But the interiors, they're on a set.
They're a set.
But the motif was based on the actual house.
Okay.
Yeah. So they kind of carry over like this sort of Mayan kind of like tiles and shit. Yeah.
There's another film that comes to mind, Predator 2, where there's a scene with a drug lord.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was taken from or filmed there.
Did it look like
the pillars have the Mayan type pillars going
interesting.
on.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't. Okay. I
Let's
didn't
go
know that.
back to some B movie. But yeah, no, it's a great architecture.
Yeah.
You know.
So the only time I've seen an actual spinner, Seattle.
Really? Is that the only place where it's on display? In that science fiction museum?
I think that might be the only place.
Okay.
It's hanging from the ceiling. It's a full size scale. It maybe not quite full size, but it looks big.
Okay.
It could be like 80% maybe.
Okay.
But it looks really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, that's a spinner. It's so awesome.
Well, the set that I have has the little toy spinner in it. Which, if I was a kid and got one of those, I'd have been happy as hell, you know?
I'm happy like right now. Just like having this in my presence. And the last one is right here in New York.
Okay.
You go to the Museum of the Moving Image in Astoria?
Oh, yeah.
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 You've got the model of the Terrell Pyramid.
Right.
Yeah.
The slanted.
It's so amazing. Yeah.
Could you imagine being in that elevator going up in a building that size on the outside?
Yeah.
That would scare the piss out of me.
Yeah. You got any bits?
Well, one thing that I wanted to mention, what Ridley Scott does with the replicants, with the reflection in the pupils, the red reflection.
You're right, yes.
That you know who's a replicant. The audience knows.
It's another one of those subjective things.
Right.
It's not literally happening in the world of the movie,
right.
but it's something for us to see.
For us to see.
Yeah.
But on the in the test, there's the magnifying glass that shows up that they look through, and you wonder if that has something to do with looking into the pupil to see the dilation of the iris and the pupil.
Yeah.
You know.
And,
So,
and Deckard's eyes glow at some point.
Yeah.
Another like piece of evidence in favor of that.
Right.
Yeah. The owl's eyes glow.
the owls, because he asks, "Is it real?"
Yeah.
And he says, "Of course not." Oh,
Yeah.
she says, "Of course not."
Yeah.
Was it expensive? He's got to ask all those questions. I would ask too, man. How much does a robot owl cost? You know? And not one from like Clash of the Titans, like one like that.
No Bubos, whatever the hell that thing was. One thing we haven't really talked about is the acting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think especially Rutger Hauer.
Well, he really brought it.
What I love is it's like he does subtle things to convey the fact that he's not quite human.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's really, really interesting what he's doing in this movie.
Right. Like sudden facial tics and movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a moment when, so he goes back to the apartment and he lets Pris know that they're the only two left.
Right. That Leon
And he kind of he announces it like it's like he's a child.
Yeah, and then he kind of goes into this false pout.
Yeah.
This like fake kind of pout.
I'm wondering if that was. It's like because they're only 4 years old.
Right.
Emotionally.
Right.
So it's almost like he's a kid trying to process this
right.
in an emotional sense.
Right.
And Pris says, "Then we're stupid and we'll die," which is almost like something a kid would say, right?
No, you're stupid.
Yeah. It's really it's. I think there's a lot of complex stuff going on there in
Right.
terms of emotions, and it's. I mean, like,
well, then also
yeah.
between Pris and Sebastian, because he has, what is it, Methuselah syndrome,
Yes,
where
exactly.
he ages very quickly.
He's
He's
so
like something like 20 something
he's
years
like
old.
25
25.
actual year. The actor was 38 when he filmed this,
Right.
so it's like he's got this accelerated thing.
Yeah, that and the same thing. You wonder if Roy kind of, when he offed him, was that him giving him some sort of sympathy death, some sort of pity?
You think so?
I'd like to think.
Yeah.
You know, I try not to do so much of it, but
Yeah.
I try to think. I like to think.
Huh.
But yeah. So because it doesn't happen on screen,
True. Yeah.
because that really would have made Roy look like a real scumbag. I feel,
Yeah.
especially since the next scenes that he has with Deckard, and when he saves him,
Yeah.
you know, if they showed him killing Sebastian, it would have taken away from that a little bit. That soon.
Interesting. Yeah.
If he had
no,
done
I
it
think you're
early
right.
on,
I think you're right. Yeah.
if he had killed him early on,
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought anything about it. But if he killed him so close to saving Deckard's life,
Yeah.
you know, you would have had a harder time seeing his arc.
Making that connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he's
You
frightening
people
as
wouldn't
hell.
believe the things I've seen. Tax ships off the coast of Orion.
Oh my God.
He's so good in it.
Amazing. Yeah.
Well, I think this was one of his first major roles, if I'm correct.
Yeah. So he had already done the Dutch movies with Paul Verhoeven, of course,
Right.
who we talked about earlier, Starship Troopers.
Right.
I think that's how Ridley found out about him. I'm not quite sure about that. It was like one of his first kind of like English language roles, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then he was in a slew of bad B movies.
Yeah.
Although I do like The Hitcher. He was good in that.
The Hitcher was, that's a good movie.
was good in
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's fun.
With C. Thomas Howell.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of firsts, or early on, like Daryl Hannah, early role.
Right. Because right
Eric-
after that was Splash, wasn't it? Or was that right before?
I don't remember exactly,
'Cause
but
that
Splash
was
was
her-
kind of breakout.
Yeah, her big
Yeah.
breakout role.
Edward James Olmos we talked about.
Yep.
Anybody else in here? That might be kind of it.
Right.
For like actors.
Right.
Well, Sean Young, this is her first film.
This is her first movie.
This is her first. Ridley Scott claims that she had done nothing. He says literally she had never done like a high school play or anything.
Really?
Like she had never
Huh.
acted,
Shit.
which is interesting because she doesn't seem like she's a good actress. But it almost kind of works,
It works
with
with her
her
character.
replicantness
Yeah.
in here.
I'll go with
I don't
that,
think she
yeah.
does a bad job. Actually, I believe her.
Yeah,
her
I do too.
struggle.
Right.
You know.
I think the only real human moment she has is, well, there's maybe two, where she's sitting at the piano and she takes her hair down.
Yeah.
And she's kind of reflecting and, you
Yeah.
know. And then when, Deckard basically just kind of, I mean, he pushes up on her
Okay,
mad hard.
that's a scene we didn't talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, telling her what to do.
Are we just gonna say it's a rape scene?
Yeah, pretty much. I was trying to avoid it.
I know, but
he basically, just full on says,
Okay, there's
I'm just doing you now. That's it. You got nothing,
what?
nothing to
Okay,
say.
what do you think about that scene?
I remember from the first time I saw it, I was like, for real?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
It kind of it harkens back to some of the old tough guy roles.
True.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Where you'd have this tension between the two characters, and then he would just full up grab her and kiss her, and then all of a sudden, first she's struggling, and she's hugging him and kissing him back. It kind of goes back to that a
You
little
see
bit.
this in a lot of James Bond movies.
Yeah,
it
right.
was a thing of the time.
Yeah. But looking at it now, you wouldn't be able to get away with that.
Yeah,
in any fucking form.
It's super creepy right now. Apparently, from what I understand, Ridley Scott kind of encouraged that to happen because they didn't have a lot of chemistry together, the two actors.
Really?
But he apparently now regrets it.
Oh, okay.
He feels like they went too far. The way I'm if I'm going to be charitable to the movie, the way I would read it is that it's a signal that he doesn't think of her as human.
Yeah.
He sees literally as an object.
Right.
This
yeah.
is just a thing that I can take and just and have sex with.
And use, yeah.
And she can't say no.
Right.
And the fact that, and it's part of his kind of progression, the character arc.
Yeah, because later on, when he comes back, he's being very tender to her.
And he says, okay, I'm going to ask you, do you love me? Do you trust me?
Right.
Okay, then we'll go off together. But it's like he's giving her the choice at that point.
Right, right.
It's ugly. It's
Yeah.
very, I mean, a lot of this movie is super ugly.
Yeah.
But I think it's intentional. I think that's part of the thematic resonance of it.
Right.
It's an ugly world.
And I think in one of the cuts, I can't remember which, if it was the theatrical or the cut after,
Yeah.
they do have that one end scene after they leave Deckard's apartment building where they're driving
We're
off
in the car, yeah.
in the country.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
sunny and green and and it's kind of like trying to give a happy ending to the whole relationship to their
I
characters.
hate that scene.
Yeah. It takes away from everything.
I don't know how long we have together, but who does?
Right, right.
Yeah. It's a little bit,
That's hokey.
Yeah.
And I can see why Ridley Scott was like, that's got to go in his cut.
Terrell had told me that she was special, no lifespan. Like, oh, come on,
Right.
come on. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's way too convenient
It's
of a
too
wrap
much.
up.
Yeah, it's too much.
You know?
Yeah. All right, I think we got to wrap this up. All right, two pieces of business as usual. First, what is the suck factor in this movie, in this future?
Well, if you're a replicant, it's really high.
It's
like
really
a 10,
bad. Let's just say you're a
10 and
human
a half,
being.
11. As a human being, too, if you're poor.
It's not good.
No.
It is not
No.
good at all. Yeah.
But you can get umbrellas that glow, that, have fluorescent lights in them. That, and you can get, I don't know, noodles.
But still, you have no cell phones.
Right.
Because you got to use a video, phone
Right.
booth to call anybody.
And what was the cost of that call that he made to Rachel?
It was like
from the bar?
$125 or something.
It was something
something
crazy.
silly, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
something crazy like $12 or I can't remember exactly. I wish I could remember that little bit.
Yeah. But it was outrageous for 1982.
Right.
But not crazy now.
Now.
Because, for video, whatever.
Right. So the suck factor is pretty high in those cases. Well, Bryant said it, going back to that statement once again, what he says to Deckard, if you're not Blade Runner, you little people.
Yeah.
So basically you got to be a cop or working for the Tyrell Corporation or something like this.
Yeah.
To live
So,
decently.
so let's just say that you and I are living in this world. What is the suck factor for us? It's not.
I can't speak
it's
for
pretty
you,
bad,
but
right?
it'll be
It's pretty
fucking
bad.
sucky for
yeah,
me.
I think it's bad. Yeah. What's the rating?
So
1 to 10 scale.
like I said, it depends on the character. If you're Tyrell, well, he's
No, you're
actually
not Tyrell.
Okay.
You're not Tyrell.
For us,
No.
normal little people.
Yes, we're little
It's
people.
fucking 10.
Yes.
It's a 10. And if you're a replicant, even worse.
What do we give Soylent Green?
Soylent Green we gave
Because
something
that's
like
worse.
we were up
Let's-
there
let-
like 9 or 10.
I think Soylent Green is worse.
Oh, because we gave it a little bit of a break because if you were affluent,
Yeah.
if you had money, if you're wealthy,
But we
it's-
don't have money. We're never
Right.
going to have money.
Okay, so you're saying once again for us,
Yes,
if
exactly.
we put ourselves,
We're typical people.
yeah,
yes,
no,
yes. In
all
that
of it
world,
would suck for us.
Soylent Green world is worse, obviously, because
Yeah.
we'd be sleeping on those steps.
Yeah, right. It's true.
Blade Runner.
Oh, if you had an apartment, you'd
we
be
went-
running that bicycle to get the lights on.
That's my job. Seriously?
You're the book.
Damn. Oh, I should read less. Yeah, it's pretty sucky.
It's pretty sucky.
It's pretty sucky because we can't afford to get the off-world colonies.
No.
I'm sure. Yeah. No, I can't
No.
afford that space ticket.
Yeah, right.
Get up there.
No, yeah, it's really high in this. But I think that's what makes the movie so powerful.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It makes the movie so powerful because of it.
Yeah, it's so compelling.
Yeah, like I said, though, if you're not Harrison Ford in this movie or, Tyrell.
Yeah.
But Tyrell gets his head crushed, so he had it good for a little while.
All right. Well, we got one last piece of business here. You got the coin on you?
Uh-oh.
Oh, crap.
You
Okay.
gotta get the coin. You gotta get a coin.
All right. All right. So who flipped last time?
You did.
Okay. So it's your flip.
Okie doke. All right. Here we go. Ceremonial coin toss.
Tails.
Heads.
Okay. It's yours.
Fuck.
You got one.
All right. You know what? I had 2 ideas for films last time.
Okay.
We did another coin toss. So I could
determine.
So I
yes.
could pick in my brain which one to do first. The
That
second
is
one
one
that
way
I
to
had,
do it.
Right. So the other choice I had from our last podcast was Omega Man,
Okay.
Charlton Heston, for another
Okay.
film.
We're doing. Okay. Cool.
Excellent.
Awesome. All right, people. Thank you for joining us yet again. This is Useless Info Inc. doing our dystopian film podcast, aka The Future Sucks.
The future sucks, especially if you're in Blade Runner future.
Yes. And I just hope I'm not a replicant, because you never know.
I had my doubts about it.